Hey everyone, Zach and Ashley Spear here with Growth Track. We are coming to you from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So if we turn the camera around, we are on the 35th floor overlooking the city of Kuala Lumpur. And if you've never heard of it, neither did I. Ashley found it and we decided to come here. So it's been pretty fun. So we came from Bali to Kuala Lumpur, and we're actually heading back to Bali in like 4 days because we are going to go take more surf lessons. We took one surf lesson in Bali, realized it was amazing, and so we're going to go back to Bali. But right here, we're in this very cool apartment. We are very blessed to be able to be here. It's really, really beautiful. But today we want to talk to you about the most exciting topic in the world for a guy. It's so cool. Boundaries. Yay! You want to start off?
On that note, how exciting. Yeah, so today we're really excited to be with you all and to talk about protective boundaries in your marriage. So I know this isn't, like Zach said, for guys, always the most exciting topic. It can actually be a pretty controversial topic out there as well. In today's society, we don't always see an issue with spending one-on-one time with people of the opposite sex when we're in a relationship, and we see like, oh, we're just looking, there's no harm in that. Or casual flirting when we're out and about, like, oh, it's just harmless, nothing's gonna come from it. But then we also look at the other side of the spectrum, and in the United States, 40 to 50% of Americans, their marriages end up in divorce. And subsequent marriages, the rate is even higher. And I'm just quoting the American Psychological Association. You know, don't beat us up for our statistics because there's a lot of them out there.
If you want to, she's been taking Muay Thai, so she's good.
But Zach and I, we really honor and view our marriage as sacred, as something that's honorable, and we really approached it from that way from the very beginning, from our dating relationship and in our engagement as well. In Romans 12, it tells us to love one another, in Romans 12, it tells us to be devoted to one another and love one another above and honor one another above ourselves. And so sometimes that means making decisions that go against maybe what we want, that go against maybe how we're feeling in the moment, because that decision is going to hold somebody else up, our significant other, up higher than ourselves. And so we really cherish and we really believe that. And we strive to captivate each other's heart and minds on a daily basis. And, you know, that sounds like this beautiful, fluffy, like, desire. And it's not, but it's not something that comes every day for us just because we said I do. And honestly, it doesn't come every day. It comes most days. But it doesn't come every day, but it does come frequently and more often than not that we are able to captivate the heart and mind of each other because we have love in our marriage, because we have trust, and because we've created these boundaries that allow us to free up our mind and actually focus on the things that bring us joy and bring us peace within the relationship. So, would you like to talk about some of those boundaries that we have?
Oh, that you're pumped up, right? And you're like, let's talk about boundaries and things I can't do. Actually, I'm going to dispel a false belief that I think a lot of us, especially guys, have. Ladies might have it too, but definitely guys. And it's that boundaries do what I just said. They create imprisonment and things that we can't do. And, you know, if you're a guy, like, most likely you're always like, but you said I can't. So I'm going to do it now, right? Like, it's just like, just because I told you can't do something, you're like, oh, I'm going to do it now. And, you know, I get it. I completely get it. But here's the truth. That's a false belief. The truth is that boundaries actually give you more freedom. There's a guy out there, maybe you've heard of him. He talks about discipline equals your freedom. If you're disciplined in your finances, you're actually going to have more freedom, especially if it's earlier on. If you're disciplined in your finances early, you'll have more freedom later. Right? If you're disciplined with your time management as you work on your business or at your job, you'll have more freedom later. If you're undisciplined with your finances, you will be disciplined later by life. If you're undisciplined in your working, days, you're going to be disciplined later with all the crap that you have to do. Just like in a relationship, it might seem like, oh, I can't do these things. I can't check that girl out, right? I can't, scroll Instagram and look at all these, like fitness pictures or whatever. Maybe you want to view it like that, or you can view it as like, I don't do that so that I have more freedom in like our day-to-day life. You know, Ashley and I spend probably less than 0.5% of our time talking about any of this kind of stuff because we've created our barriers, our discipline, and now we don't spend any time on it. It's created freedom in every other area of our life because every time we go out and I'm staring off in the distance thinking, Ashley's not looking behind her being like, was he looking at a girl? Was he doing that? Like, she just knows that I'm like staring over there, and if a girl walks by, it's not like it's like that's not that those conversations don't happen, right? Because we set up those boundaries. So what they actually are is, number one, like, we don't spend time with the opposite sex in a one-on-one scenario, right? So if we're going to the same if I'm going to the same location as, you know, a friend of mine that's a girl, or maybe it's a friend of ours that's a girl, and Ashley's not around, and the girl's like, hey, Zach, do you want to ride? The answer is no. It's kind, but no. I don't offer the girl a ride. Same thing, right? I don't. If we go up to a friend's house, let's say we go to a married couple's house, or maybe anyone's house, right? And Ashley's not with me for some reason, and only the woman is home. I'm not going in to wait for Ashley to get there or for her husband to get there. Like, I'm not going to put myself in a position where it's me and the woman alone. And Ashley's doing the same thing. You know, it's not just a guy thing. Like, Ashley's not going into the guy's house and just like sitting there, right? That's like recipe for, number one, it's potentially a recipe for disaster. And even if you're not like, oh, I'm not going to do anything, like most people won't. Like, it's not like you just walk in and you're just like, I'm alone. I'm gonna do something horrible right now. Like, that's not what goes through your head. But it opens the doorway in your mind just a little bit. And even if it doesn't even open the doorway, at the very minimum, it creates a little bit of question potential in someone else's mind. The last thing that you need, especially if you are a human being with any relationships in life whatsoever, the last thing that you need is having other people, other relationships, like looking in at your life and being like, I wonder why Zach was in the house with that other woman for a little bit. Now, I know most of you are judgmental. You're not thinking about those things, right? Like, gossip isn't juicy. But
right, you're not thinking of the first time it happens, like somebody's not thinking about it. But the second, the third time, the fourth time, your significant other starts asking questions, and other people start asking questions, and with proximity creates emotion.
Proximity creates emotion. And like the bottom line is, you don't want those emotions running against you, okay? So the opposite sex thing in a car, the opposite sex thing at a house, basically anything to do with that doesn't happen. If I'm having a conversation, let's say I need to have a business meeting with a woman, right? It does happen. It's not like your life is gone, right? Like, that does happen. If that happens, Ashley knows about it. She's aware of it up front. And in the conversation, make sure that it's, well, first of all, back up. It's in a public place. We're not meeting in a private enclosed office. That's number one. Number two, it's in a public place. Number three, if the person doesn't know, we try to interweave a conversation about each other, just naturally in the conversation, not being weird on that, like, hello, my name is Zach, I'm married! Like, not being a psycho, but just like working it in, right? And just making it aware that, hey, like, this is what's happening. I'm a married man, and this is fine now. Let's go through. So there's just some basic boundaries that we have in our life. What about like scrolling through like Instagram, right? You're scrolling through Instagram. Like, we made it a point. We actually had our assistant go through and remove every single account that had any like provocative pictures on it. Not like we're staring at Instagram looking for provocative pictures, but we're both into fitness, so like naturally, like, fitness accounts like show up in our feed, and more than half of the pictures that come up in fitness accounts are like perfectly proportioned human beings, like posing like this. It's like, why are you here? And number one, you're like, why are you there? But number two, like, we're all like Adam fell, right? Like, you get that. We're all sinful nature. So you can't just be like, I'm never going to look at that. I'll just leave it there. To kill a problem, you starve a problem. And so we starve the problem by removing that stuff. And so we just can't allow ourselves to, feed into any of that stuff, because with proximity comes emotion. Emotions influence our actions eventually. And it could take a long time, but it does happen. One other thing that we do is, like, when we're watching Netflix or just TV shows or movies or anything like that, it's mind-boggling to both of us that there is so much TV and movies and anything out there that is just like filled with, either immoral. Well, I think everything just kind of falls under that category. It basically immoral, like sex and relationships. It's like mind-boggling. It's like, I thought this was a superhero show, bro. Like, this is not whatever. So when that kind of stuff happens, either one thing, the bare minimum that happens is we fast forward that. We don't want that crap in our mind. Stuff in your mind festers and it turns into emotions, right? So we don't want that stuff in there, number one. The second thing is if it keeps coming up, what's more important? Our relationship or what happens?
Or some drama in a show.
Yeah, or what happens in Jessica Jones. No one freaking cares, right? Like, this is more important than whatever happens on the show. So we're going to prioritize the show and we're going to shut it off. There's a lot of other ones. You can go on Netflix and find more stuff, right? So we just decided to make that choice. We fast forward stuff, and if it's really, really bad, we just turn it off and you press 3 buttons and we watch another show. See, something that I know that some people, I've had people ask me this, not because I'm a mentor or because I'm like super smart, it's just like friends asking friends, right? And I remember someone asking me basically like, well, what if like God is telling me something, right? And I don't fully get how this can get twisted, but it can. And let's say I want to do like a certain business thing, right? Sometimes I feel like God is telling me like, hey, Zach, go do that business thing. I'm like, oh, I think God told me this, and so I'll go do that, right? But here's the litmus test. If it goes against something in the Word, in the Bible, it wasn't God, okay? Like, he wrote down everything he said. So if I'm like, walking down the street and like maybe Ashley, this is not a real scenario, I'm just trying to make something up, but let's say Ashley and I have been having like a horrible few years of marriage, right? Like the past few years have been really rough. I don't feel like she loves me. She doesn't, treat me good. Like, she's withholding, intimate times and things in my life is just, hard. And this beautiful woman at work is like treating me really good, being casually flirtatious, and like she's a Christian, and like there's like all these like, holy crap, like this girl is like maybe actually the one. Maybe I made a boo-boo. Maybe God's telling me something. Just go into a dark room by yourself and say everything out loud that's happening. Okay, I got married under the covenant of God. No one's cheated anyone, but my wife's being mean to me. There's a woman at work that's really nice to me. She's pretty hot. I think she's the one. Are you serious? Like, you just said that all out loud? You realize how stupid that sounds? God is not going to tell you something that is against his word. Okay? Bottom line litmus test. If it's not in the Bible, he's not the one speaking to you. So, we are all prone to sin. We can have influence from God, right? We can also have influence from Satan. So, if you're feeling influenced, and it's very clearly against the Bible, it's probably not God leading you anywhere. It's most likely the adversary leading you somewhere, because ultimately, the way our country and world moves all comes down to the way a piece of the country moves, or a state. If the state is strong, the country is strong. If the city is strong, the state is strong. If the family or the individual family unit is strong, the city is strong, the state is strong, the country is strong. So how do you break down a country? How do you ruin a world? You break the family. If you were the adversary, what would you try to do? Break the United States or break families one at a time? Try to break the family. You see what I'm saying? So ultimately, that's like kind of big picture. Smaller picture is how we influence the people around us. There's a verse, Matthew 5:16, and it basically talks about being the light that you want to see in the world. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. Be the light you want to see in the world. So if someone looks at us, we want them to see Christ or God in us. Now, that's something that I think we both have to consciously remind ourselves. I probably have to remind myself more of on a daily basis. But like, okay, as I'm interacting with Ashley, or anyone, can someone look at us and see a glimmer of Christ in us? That's ultimately what we want. Because if we can do that, and we can strengthen our family, we can eventually, domino effect, change the world. So be the light that you want to see in the world. Have people see Christ in you, and realize that we're all growth in progress, right? None of us are finished product. We all have to continually, do better and better and better every time, and just realize that, we all make mistakes. Don't judge yourself on what happened in the past. Just try to be better going forward, and we're all forgiven. Sound good? All right, guys. This has been absolutely awesome. You have anything else to add?
No, I think it sounds great.
Awesome. Well, guys, we love you all. Thanks so much for spending time with us here today. And goodbye from Kuala Lumpur. Next time we see you, we will probably be back in Bali. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
See you later.